John Dadian joining us now this morning. And John, let's get back to the mayor's race. And oh my goodness, 19 candidates to sink our teeth into.
You actually predicted it, the number.
Yeah.
As I said, I mean, literally, when you think about it, 20 candidates for some reason didn't file papers yesterday, so it slimmed down from 39 to 19.
Okay, 19 candidates, and yet, you know, you have sort of those top 3 or 4, right?
4.
And the likelihood of anybody getting over 50% is very unlikely.
It's very unlikely at this point, absolutely.
When is the next debate? Do we know?
No, I don't know. I don't know if one's scheduled yet.
Okay.
But there'll be quite a few actually.
Plenty
60 days is what we're looking at as far as this election period.
Yeah.
So a lot of people saying there wasn't a lot of fireworks in this debate. We can expect more heated debates as we go. Who do these candidates have to appeal to in order to get there and get to the top?
The first rule of politics is what you do is you secure your base. And they each have different bases. Although, obviously, out of the 3 Democrats are splitting a Democratic base. So really one of the next benchmarks is going to be to see who the Democratic Party, the county party, endorses. That will send shockwaves because that will give one of the candidates huge momentum.
Top 3 candidates. I want to do a quick thing with you. Kevin Faulconer, quickly, strengths and weaknesses.
Huge strength, the only / major Republican in the race,
right,
without a doubt. Experience, and looked very well through this Filner debacle as far as showing leadership. He was one of the main brokers through all this.
Weakness?
Democratic City. I mean, Democratic registration, once he gets into the general, it's going to help him tremendously in the primary. It's very tough in the general.
Nathan Fletcher, strength, weakness?
Biggest weakness, flip-flop, without a doubt. Biggest strength, charisma, young, up-and-coming leader.
David Alvarez, same 2 questions. Strength, weakness.
Young, up-and-coming leader, Hispanic community. He's going to court heavily, which Filner did also, what they call the South of the 8 vote.
And on the national front, we're talking about Obamacare, top Republicans, House Republicans trying to defund Obamacare. Do you see this happening?
It doesn't look likely. Just doesn't look like the votes are there. Again, some people bemoan that gridlock happens in D.C. I've always said gridlock is good because I think it's good that we've got a split House, that we got the Democrats running the Senate and the Republicans running the Congress, because that's when true negotiations come in. But realistically, just simply the votes aren't there the way it looks.
Does it have, I mean, the election's quite a ways away. I mean, we're 3 years away from the presidential election in 2016. Does something like this have sort of a shadow effect on an election that's that far out in terms of, you know, sort of backlash at the polls?
Well, to answer your latter question, yes, it absolutely has an effect. But I would disagree with your statement that the election is 3 years out, because if you look at the last 50 years of our election, it's a constant election cycle. People run for president 4 and 8 years out. If you look at President Obama, when he was a state senator, he was already running for president. So clearly the election's going on now, and things such as the affordable...
I was just talking officially. The election's 3 years away.
Technically.
Technically.
Isn't
that part of the problem, though? I mean, government in Washington's become more short-term as opposed to long-term, vision-oriented, moving the country in a certain direction. Now it's basically, let's get our name on television and do our thing in the short term. Isn't that hurting the country?
With the exception of your comment about television, it's been that way since George Washington's day.
Okay.
It's always been, you know, what is the next election coming up and how do we get there, without a doubt.
It hasn't gotten on hyper mode, though.
I really don't think so. I mean, clearly certain factors have changed it, such as social media clearly has changed the way campaigns are conducted. But other than that, the basics have not changed at all.
Can you just you say, you know, government shutdown looming, not going to happen, but just put it into perspective for our viewers. What if it did? What would happen? What does that mean?
Well, again, things would stop, such as federal workers, the paychecks would stop because they cannot write a check if they don't have authorization to do it. Again, we had a recent example in the mid-90s where that actually happened, and the backlash was tremendous, and it was very quick, and it was a backlash not on the executive branch, but on the House of Representatives, who were the ones who finally caved in. So I just don't think they're going to be able to do that.
Last one from me. I just had a question about
Sure.
the Republican Party and kind of what's happening internally in the Republican Party and the concerns. We ran a story earlier about the concerns of going too far to the right and where the Tea Party is sort of pulling that party. Do you feel any concern about where it's headed, and do you feel like there may be indeed a big split coming in the party?
No, I don't. But clearly, in both parties, there's always been different wings, and it's a pendulum. It shifts as far as who has the most power from any given time. Clearly, the Tea Party has grown in the recent years and become a little bit more strength. But you've got some reasonable leaders who are Tea Party favorites, such as Rand Paul, who is not seen in the same mold as Ted Cruz.
Okay.
All right, political analyst John Dadian with us this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, John.